Coming up, today's group broke through with a massive album, and it made them one of the biggest rock bands of the time. Still are. But then their next album flopped massively with a different guitarist, and they were suddenly in a tailspin. So they fired their new guitarist, and then they convinced their former guitar hero to come back to the band. But they needed a comeback in the worst way, and they felt they had a great song in the hopper. But the only problem was the lyrics were incredible, but the music just wouldn't gel. In fact, this singer had tried 10 different arrangements, but the song just got progressively worse. He got so pissed off, so frustrated, he threw the song in the trash. But then that guitarist saved it from the trash, and just when the record was about to be turned in, he came to the rescue with the exact music that the lyrics always needed. He'd actually just relearned to play the guitar after kicking drugs for good. And then the band handed in their record to the label, and their 3 best songs were shredded by the label. They called them second rate. But then the band had the last laugh when all 3 songs hit #1, including the one that got saved from the trash bin, and it put them on the map even bigger. Coming up, an amazing story of perseverance on Professor of Rock. Hey music junkies, Professor of Rock, always here to celebrate the greatest artists and the greatest songs of all time. You know, if you've ever cussed the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame for having snubbed Rush, Kiss, or Journey, or many other bands through the years, you're going to dig this channel. Make sure that you subscribe below right now. Click the red button. You'll like what interviews we have coming up, I promise. Really cool stuff. For a long time now, the predominant narrative around Red Hot Chili Peppers' 1995 release, One Hot Minute, is that it was a letdown. Some even see it as an all-out failure. I mean, coming on the heels of the massive Blood Sugar Sex Magik, a lot of people inside and out of the music industry pegged it as a commercial failure. That's pretty harsh and an unfair assessment. I mean, I really like the album. I mean, after all, the Dave Navarro era record, it sold over 2 million copies in America. Spawned 3 top 10 singles on the US alternative chart, including the #1 hit, My Friends, which I believe is one of their best songs. But since the release of One Hot Minute, the Chili Peppers seemed to be in a downward spiral. And in particular, things hadn't been going very well with guitarist Dave Navarro. A Jane's Addiction alum, of course, Navarro had come aboard to replace the disaffected John Frusciante. By '98, Navarro and the band, they just weren't clicking. Bassist Flea and lead singer Anthony Kiedis decided that it was time to part ways. Navarro didn't take the news very well, though, even though he knew it wasn't working. According to Kiedis, the verbalization of the reality pissed him off to no end. But the thing is, the departure of Navarro left the future of the band in jeopardy. Their momentum had all but stalled. Flea was close to calling it quits at the time, going through a rough patch of his own personally and professionally. He told Anthony that he just didn't think he could do it anymore. But then he dropped a bomb that Kiedis didn't see coming. The only way I could imagine carrying on is if we got John Frusciante back in the band. Why would John ever want to come back and play with us, is what Anthony asked of Flea. Kiedis and Frusciante had once been really close friends, but after John's bitter departure, they hadn't had a lot of contact. And Anthony had been hearing a lot of horror stories about John's descent into drug hell. But Flea was sure that John was on the verge of turning things around, so Anthony was open to the idea. In April of 1998, Flea asked John if he wanted to rejoin the Red Hot Chili Peppers. John actually started crying. He said, nothing would make me happier in the world. After that, Anthony and John reconciled. Do you have a problem with me at all about anything? Is what Anthony asked. No, not really, John said. What about you? Are you mad at me for anything? I thought I was, is what Anthony would say. But I don't feel mad right now. I thought we should probably go over all this stuff, but I don't feel bothered by any of it anymore. And from there on out, they were good. I guess at this point, John had been so deep into drug addiction that he had sold almost everything to get his fix. He didn't even have a guitar to his name, so he and Anthony actually went over to the Guitar Center, and Kiedis bought the prodigal bandmate, if you will, a '62 Stratocaster. Frusciante was thrilled to be back, but he was also scared. It had been a long time since he had played guitar even. So the guys decided to keep it all low-key, no pressure. Let's just jam and see what happens. Flea had a little garage where the band set up all their equipment. There was barely room to move. But it was the perfect setting for this. Since John had more or less forgotten how to play guitar, he had to relearn his craft from the beginning. Anthony said he actually loved the way that John played during this period. Since he didn't have the technical capacity to do everything, John toned things down and developed an incredible minimalist style. Every day he came up with something spectacular, is what he said. Despite the excitement, it took some time for the band to find their groove. A lot of people in the industry at this time, they were counting them out after the perceived failure of One Hot Minute. But the more the Chili Peppers played, the more they believed in the material that they were creating at the moment. Some validation came early when one day Kiedis ran into Gwen Stefani, no doubt. It turns out that she lived across the ravine from Flea on the opposite mountain. She said, "I hear you guys play every day. My friends come over and we just sit around and listen. It sounds great." Anthony was actually a little embarrassed. He didn't think anyone could hear him, but it was a nice compliment. The band was thrilled when they finished work on the album that they called Californication, for reasons that I'll get into in a second. After mixing it, and people started coming by to hear it, the feedback was all positive. Well, mostly positive. There was a setback when the Chili Peppers played the finished album for their new management team. They were so unimpressed, the band really couldn't believe it. The guys played him Scar Tissue, Other Side, and Californication, all of which would go to #1 on the U.S. alternative chart. Scar tissue that I wish you saw. Slut, I gotta take it on the other side. You want these kind of dreams, it's Californication. And these suits just sat there saying, okay, we might be able to work with that one. I don't know about the other one. It's not a home run, but we might be able to get on base with that. I couldn't believe it when I read that at the time. It just boggles the mind. Still, the Chili Peppers weren't worried. They believed in themselves. They believed in this record. And as is usually the case in the artist versus management or record label fiasco that everybody deals with, the band was right. After Californication was released on June 1999, it reached #3 on the Billboard 200, and it would sell in excess of 7 million US copies. It'd actually be their most successful album alongside Blood Sugar Sex Magik. Flea, telling it like it is, called it the best record the Chili Peppers have ever made. Drummer Chad Smith even said Californication was amazing on many different levels. Having John back was a huge thing for us. It felt like a new band. It was back to just writing songs like for Blood Sugar. And Anthony, he called the making of Californication an experience of a lifetime. Who knew it would be the most popular record of our career? That's not what we were aiming for. That's what he said. Well, aiming or not, it definitely hit and hit big. Californication included several successful singles and some of the best known of their extensive catalog. Scar Tissue, Around the World, Other Side, Road Trippin', and of course Californication, today's song. The life is beautiful around the world. Let's go get lost, let's go get lost. That Hollywood sells Californication. Now, when it came to writing the album, all the songs came really fast and furious. All of them, except for one. That Holdout was the first song that John and Anthony actually started on together. You guessed it. It was Californication. Of all the tracks on the record, this one would be the hardest to nail down for the album. The origins of the song go back to before they'd even begun work on the album, even before John was back in the band, before the lineup change. Anthony had been traveling around the world, trying to find himself. And during his travels, Kiedis became keenly aware of how Hollywood and American culture had saturated the far-flung corners of the globe. Anthony started writing the lyrics in Thailand. And while in New Zealand, Anthony ran into a crazy lady on the street who was ranting about psychic spies in China. And that phrase became one of his favorite lyrics and would actually opened the song, as you know.
Psychic spies from China try to steal your mind's elation.
When Anthony got back home, he just kept writing. And after John came back to the band, Kiedis showed him his lyrics, and though they tried coming up with music, nothing really seemed to fit. They actually tried something like, 10 different arrangements, 10 different choruses in this process, and none of it worked. It wouldn't be until January of the following year when things started to fall into place. By then, the band was in the studio and things were coming to a close for the album. They had about 25 songs recorded. Californication wasn't one of them. But the tuneless track that just kept nagging Kiedis. For him, these lyrics were what the album was all about. He felt like they were the best he'd written in a long time. Still, whenever he brought up the would-be song, everyone pointed out that they had more than enough material for the record. But then, when there were only like a few days of recording left, John came running into the studio. I got it. I got Californication. Sitting down, he plucked a sparse and haunting combination of notes together. It was so different from every other approach that they had taken in the past that it actually took Anthony a minute to realize what John had come up with. The perfect fit. But when he started singing it, it just started to click. Now, the band rehearsed it a couple of times before recording it, and it made it onto the album, beating out 9 other contenders.
And little girls from Sweden dream of silver screen quotation.
Californication was released as a single in June of 2000, about a year after the album came out, actually. It's a song that explores the darker side of Hollywood and really the American dream. And in no uncertain terms, it calls out the deterioration of modern society and the superficiality of California culture. The title is, of course, a combination of the words California and fornication, and it carries a negative connotation. Although the Red Hot Chili Peppers didn't invent the term per se, they were the first to popularize it on a massive scale for sure. Having spent a lot of time on the streets of California, the Red Hot Chili Peppers saw many of the state's less savory elements up close and personal, and that was 20-something years ago.
The edge of the world in all of Western civilization.
Kiedis uses Californication to warn any long-distance admirers not to fall for all the glitz and the glamour, because beneath the surface, Hollywood is rotten to the core, and its promoters are not what they seem, according to the song. Fame, fortune, and physical beauty are all alluring. Anthony interweaves this message throughout the song by using a variety of images. For instance, when he sings "Buy Me a Star on the Boulevard," a reference to the Hollywood Walk of Fame, and in a more general sense, the dream of being immortalized.
Buy me a star on the boulevard, it's Californication.
Currently, the Walk of Fame consists of something like 2,700 brass stars embedded into the sidewalks of Hollywood Boulevard and Vine Street. Each one is supposed to be a public monument to a celebrity or group within the entertainment industry. You've probably all walked over them. And though fame may seem like the ultimate prize, the question that Kiedis poses here is, what cost are people willing to pay for it? Incidentally, the Chili Peppers received their own star in 2022.
Thank the fans for coming today. Thank you for celebrating with us.
Make of that what you will. Addressing Hollywood's obsession with eternal youth, Anthony sings, "Pay your surgeon very well to break the spell of aging."
Pay your surgeon very well to break the spell of aging.
As has been the case for decades in the entertainment industry, plastic surgery is about as common as breathing, right? And it's based on this lie that you can reverse the effects of aging if you have enough money, right? If you're in the club. The superficial message that says looking beautiful on the outside is far more important than who you are on the inside. And with that kind of vanity, it's bound to lead you down a dark path, as the song states. To drive home the dangers of Hollywood's messaging, Kiedis integrates a lot of pop culture references into this song. I mean, from television to film to music to print media, the entertainment industry is fully represented here.
Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement.
For example, the lines, "Space may be the final frontier, but it's made in a Hollywood basement. I mean, that not only alludes to Star Trek.
Space, the final frontier.
But it also takes a swipe at the manufactured realities that Hollywood broadcasts into the world. Following those lines, Anthony Kiedis actually name-checks Kurt Cobain, who was arguably driven to his death by his meteoric rise to fame. And then there's the reference to David Bowie's 1976 album Station to Station, an album that was created during a time when Bowie was deep into cocaine use and living the extremes of the California lifestyle.
In Cobain, can you hear the sphere singing songs off station to station?
Kiedis also name-checks Alderaan, planet from a galaxy far, far away, Star Wars: A New Hope. Alderaan, of course, blown to pieces by the Death Star. It's a not-so-subtle suggestion that our world is in danger of being destroyed by some very dark forces. Other pop culture references include a nod to Hull's album Celebrity Skin.
Oh, look at my face.
Celebrity skin, is this your gender? Is that what you're waiting?
There's Playboy playmate Dorothy Stratton, whose story was told in the book The Killing of the Unicorn. And there's also the Beach Boys in the California Myth with a reference to Good Vibrations. You know, it says, destruction leads to a very rough road, but it also breeds creation. And earthquakes are to a girl's guitar, they're just another good vibration. And tidal waves couldn't save the world from Californication.
An earthquake's out to a girl's guitar, they're just another good vibration.
I gotta tell you, this is a masterpiece of the millennium. It might be Kiedis' best lyric ever. Armageddon poetry by way of California. It's just great stuff.
Tidal waves couldn't save the world from Californication.
Ultimately, all the lyrics, pop culture or otherwise, come together to warn the world at large that the Hollywood, is artificial and corrupt. It steals the souls of dreamers and sucks them dry like vampires. What you see is definitely not what you get. Yeah, it's understood that Hollywood sells Californication, as it says.
That Hollywood sells Californication.
The video for Californication, it mixes live footage of the band with an open-world video game. It looks like it came for the PlayStation, classic PlayStation. In this simulated environment, band members' avatars explore different regions of California with an extreme sports sort of vibe. Riding rails on the Golden Gate Bridge, surfing on the back of a shark, dodging falling skyscrapers. It's just a wild and thrilling adventure. Now, near the end, California is rocked by an earthquake and the band members all fall into a lava-filled underworld. That might actually happen. Although by today's standards, the virtual environment may look dated. Back at the dawn of the millennium, it was really innovative. It predated Ready Player One by 2 decades, The Sims by a year.
Universe. You can do anything. Be anyone.
Californication is actually the group's most watched music video on YouTube, racking up nearly 1 billion views. In fact, it's such a popular piece of pop culture that in 2022, this year, a game developer named Miguel Camps Ortiza created a video game based on it. In it, you can play any of the 4 band members and explore 7 levels, each based on a scene from the music video. Now, although Californication failed to break the top 40 on the Billboard Hot 100, it actually stalled at number 69, I believe. It was a massive success on both the US mainstream rock and alternative airplay charts. It reached number 1. Internationally, it went to number 37 in Sweden, it went to number 24 in Ireland, number 19 in Italy, 16 in the UK, 8 in New Zealand, and 6 in Belgium. And it went all the way to number 1 in Iceland. Man, they have great taste in music in Iceland. On the Canadian rock alternative chart, it reached number 1 as well. Now, Californication has also appeared on a few different movies and TV shows, including Enron, The Smartest Guys in the Room, Coachella, Divorce, Carpool Karaoke with James Corden, and Mr. Corman.
Mike. Flea, you coming in on this? I'm going back. No, you're not.
And then there is the Showtime TV series Californication, starring David Duchovny. Amazingly, the writers did not negotiate with the band before borrowing this song's title for their show. Actually, the Chili Peppers filed a lawsuit against Showtime in 2007 seeking damages and restitution. Although since they filed the suit, there's not a lot of information that's come out about the result or what's going on there. While the Showtime series lasted many seasons, it did have a character named Danny California. But when the Chili Peppers filed the suit, they had not trademarked the term Californication. You know, I remember when this album came out. I called in sick at work. I was in my 20s. I wanted to be there the moment they opened the gate at the local CD store. I was first in line to buy it in the last days of actual physical product. I remember I listened to it the rest of the day, driving around town. It's one of those memories that doesn't seem like a lot now. But in my mind, it stands out as the last-ditch effort, of enjoying an entire album before the cloud swapped musical adventure for convenience. Californication indeed. Hey, thanks so much for watching. Leave us a comment about the Red Hot Chili Peppers and Californication. What do you remember about this song, about this album? Where does it rank on the Chili Peppers all-time catalog list? Is it their best? Let's get a good discussion going. If you like this episode, be sure to check out our other Red Hot Chili Peppers installments covered Under the Bridge and My Friends. Also, make sure to subscribe so you never miss out on our daily videos. We'd love to have you as part of our community. Until next time, 3 chords and the truth.